weather. I'm really quite shocked so many people are here, but welcome, welcome to the July 2025 meeting of the Friendship Heights Village Council. First on our agenda is a report from our new project manager for Page Park. Jim Wilson of JFW Inc. will be interfacing with our partners at Montgomery County Department of Permitting Services and all the other professionals necessary to complete the project. He will also be reporting to the council and the Parks and Grounds Committee, and he is here today to give his first report. But I have forgotten step number 1, which is for the benefit of the transcription, if we could all say our names clearly in our microphones. I am Martha Solt.
Roy Schaefer.
Francine Klein.
John Conlow.
Allison Alt.
Vic Basil.
Thank you very much. So, Jim, if you feel comfortable coming to the podium, we would love to hear what you've learned about Page Park. I think it might need to be adjusted or something. Okay.
Well,
and you have some height there too.
I will
yeah.
do. That's right. There we go.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me here. I'm glad to be able to help you navigate this park project. What we have to progress the park is there's 2 primary permits that you have to get. You have to get a building permit and a stormwater management sediment erosion control permit. I'm sure all of this that you know. Currently, you actually need them both before you can begin to finish the completion of the construction. The longest path that you have is going to be your stormwater management approval and the permits. The first permit that is the first aspect of that permitting process that is in process is you need to get an approval from your concept stormwater management design. So the engineers, the civil engineers, they've submitted the plan, and the county has to approve their concept before you can actually even finish your preparation of your permit drawings, of your design drawings. So they're supposed to be getting comments back the end of this month, but it looks like it's probably not until kind of early October that we would actually expect to get the concept plan approved. At that point in time, the final designs get done, and we're expecting to have permits probably the end of the year would be where the consultants are saying that we would have the permits necessary to start. So doing site work as such in the end of the year can be a little iffy, but we can keep our eyes open to finding a window that will do that. The site permit includes the making provisions for all the accessibility that's required for the park, which includes getting the ramp up. There's a play area that is within the ramp that has to have accessibility, has to be accessible. So everything in this, every layer of activity has to have its own accessible route. It also includes, the drawings also include 5 bioretention structures that don't exist that have to get built. So when the construction starts, we're going to go backwards for a while, and which is going to be to move some plants around and create these 5 areas for the bioretention. So we're looking at the ability to start sometime as early next year as we can. Sometimes we go through years where the ground doesn't freeze at all, and if the ground is not frozen, we can work. If it is frozen, we don't go there. So we're looking probably at maybe March, April is where we're targeting our completion of the work. So the agencies are going to, we have some work to be done in getting all the agencies understanding exactly what it is that we need from them. So that's I can go deeper, but I will stay there.
Thank you. And just so everyone knows, a pretty detailed project plan with timelines was provided to the council. For now, I'd like to offer, is there anyone on the council who would like to ask a question?
So Martha,
I'm sorry.
maybe I'll just add a light of perspective. It's just as an owner's rep, kind of here, my role is serving my clients as their expert advisors. My background is as an engineer. I've studied engineering. I was never for PE, but I was an engineer and I worked for large commercial. I worked for Gilbane Building Company for a number of years and then built hotels for Marriott for several years. And for the last 35 years, I've had my own owner's representative company working for institutions, in my work primarily with nonprofits. It's the people that brick and mortar is not their core business, and I help them navigate those worlds. So I've worked down at the Chevy Chase Club for almost 25 years of helping them with projects. I've worked with a lot of schools in the area and a lot of churches, synagogues, so forth. So happy to help you all, but that was just a little quick background on it.
And thank you. I should have asked you about your background. Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Sorry to interrupt.
Councilmember Muller?
Thank you for the presentation. Two questions. One, I believed from previous reports from the county that the storm drain management project, while important and needed to be done, was able to be processed after the permit. Was I mistaken? Can the village manager correct me? Yes, sir.
Okay, I just did it a little too quick. So you can't actually move any dirt. You can't actually do anything productive out there without a permit, and in order to move, you have to move dirt. If you have to move dirt, you need your sediment erosion control. So no matter what you have, if you get a building permit, say you get your foundation squared away on the pergola, you still can't go out there and do anything. You still can't use it because you're not accessible. And in order to get accessible, you have to move the dirt.
Okay,
So you're tied into a little,
Your answer is whatever we heard before or thought we heard is not the case. The second question is, while all of this is going on, there are a few things that I would hope could be done or ordered, because if we wait until both these major parts of the project are finished, then we still need the council still needs to review and then select what will now be the small children's area, which the council did decide would stay. That was up. So that needs to be done by our colleagues. And the second thing were those darn railings, which initially were one of the few things that the county said had to be done and selected and analyzed. And that's sort of separate from everything you said. And I'm wondering if you could please keep your eye on that, so the council can be doing some things while we're waiting for all these other things that are a little bit of weather dependent.
yes,
It was on.
I'll get it eventually. So the railings should be a relatively very straightforward and not complicated selection process or whatever has to go through. So but you can do those. We can get those, make sure that those are available and are ordered and are ready to go in when we do get the construction. The play area is a little bit more complicated because currently the plans show a new ramp going down in there, which makes the play area much smaller. And so I don't know what the process is on that design, and you can kick me here under the table if I should just say nothing on the, but we're suggesting that the play area be raised up so that it's the same level as the paved surface up above. Therefore, it does not need its own individual accessible kind of ramp. So it maximizes the surface. So if we do that, if that gets to be agreed upon, then we can go and figure out, come to you or whatever it is and say, here's the playground stuff that meets all the safety requirements inside that circle, and then you can select the play equipment. But you're right,
There were a number of options, and that doesn't mean that others can't be added, and how many would fit was always under discussion. But I would hope that that can be done. It's relatively minor compared to the major parts of the project that you've got your eye on. If you could keep us, the council, moving on the things that we can do while we're waiting for all these permits, et cetera, to be finished. Thank you.
If I could just add before I ask for other questions, if you have other ideas, we're open to hearing them, so don't hold back. So, and it's fine to share them here if you have them.
yes.
Does anyone else have
Yes,
a
ma'am.
question? Okay, Francine?
Yes, I really like the idea of putting it on the same level. I never understood why it is lower than the rest of the park, whether there was some topography requirement that made it lower. But having been there with a child before it was closed, that was always a little off-putting to have the elevation being different for what was supposed to be the play area. So I would be in support of that idea, especially if it gives us more area to use. Thank you.
So the play area, in selecting your play equipment, there's, just as you're kind of caught in this regulatory, spider web here, the play areas are very complicated in how closely regulated they are for safety requirements. So when you have hard things that a kid could fall off and stumble and fall, the area, the distance you have to be from something hard is pretty far. So then when you took that ramp in there, you made that area into such an area that you probably could only ever get one relatively small anything in there. So we're trying to make sure you get as much in there as you can. But we do understand, I built a lot of playgrounds and or managed a lot of playgrounds. So
Just so you're aware, on that area, there were, I'm calling them drains, there were things put in to try to get rid of the water that collects in there.
great.
Other questions for Jim? If I could ask you to explain in sort of layman's language the situation with the concrete and what is under, or the lack of pergola footings, or if you could explain that story in a way that a non-engineer understands, that would be great for me. At the current, whatever you know now.
Yeah, yeah, so what I understand now, and I'm not done, and we have to kind of push, get a little bit more information from a structural engineer. Currently, what is on the drawings is like a sidewalk thickness concrete slab that the pergola bolts into it, and it got a little bit thicker. And what I'm understanding from the inspector, as well as, as I started trying to unravel some of these things, I don't think that that's a footing that the county is going to accept. So I don't know how to fix this one yet. I don't know the way to do this, because you typically need something in through the frost zone, which basically when ground freezes, just like you have footings in your house, it has to go down that far so that when the ground freezes, that pergola doesn't, if it's only 5, 6 inches or 8 inches into the ground, if that ground freezes, that pergola is going to move. And so I don't think the county is going to accept that. So I have to figure that one out. Don't have any great answers yet on it, but
But you're going to study it and let us know what you find.
Yeah, my guess is we're going to take it up, bore, drill footings, and put it back.
Okay.
But, I haven't come up with any ideas. The other thing is the sidewalk, the ramp, you're familiar with the ramp that's coming in off of Park, West Park, is the walkway that goes through to get to the accessible. I had conversations with the engineer, and my consideration, kind of my recommendation, is that it actually be a kind of a wooden, almost like a little bit of a raised deck. It's really, when I say raised, it's raised, 4 inches or something, but it's still at the grade. because the sidewalk just cuts through every single root that those trees have started to grow and to establish, and I would really rather not, the sidewalk, trees do not like having roots get chopped off in that way. So I've asked the engineer to kind of look at that, and that would, could be a, an Ipe kind of a very natural looking, very earthy, very kind of feel very comfortable in the tree section to walk through without having to dig up that whole section of, to put concrete in there. So well, I think that's probably going to be a change that we're going to come to you, recommend, or send it through in a more formal way. But those are the two things right now that we're wrestling with.
Can I ask if that would help with the stormwater, the runoff from water?
It will not move the needle. It won't, it does, but it's not enough to make any, it's not like you're going to be able to eliminate one of the bioretention structures. So.
Anything else from the council? Managers, do you have any questions for Jim?
Sure. If you could give us an update on the permit extension. I know that's going to expire later this summer.
Yes. Sure. I talked to the contractor who submitted the permit, and he's away this week, and he'll get it done next week. So it's a very simple formality. You call them up and you say, will you extend it? And they say, yeah, send me a note, and they say, good. So.
Thank you very much, and I think you got lucky. I don't see rain right now, so.
I know.
Thanks you very much for coming to us.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it. Next on our agenda are chair's comments, of which I have a few. We have some good news. I'm pleased to report that we are experiencing unprecedented resident interest in our village committees. This level of civic engagement strengthens our entire community, and I want to thank every resident who has stepped forward to volunteer their time and experience. It's very helpful to our community. We're also proud to congratulate our environmental partners, Little Falls Watershed Alliance, who recently received the Montgomery County's Volunteer Organization of the Year Award. This recognition reflects the outstanding leadership of Executive Director Sarah Morris, President Karen Thornton, and their dedicated team of volunteers who work tirelessly to protect our local environment. And I do know that many residents of our community are some of those volunteers. Now, to follow up on some input provided at previous council meetings, there was a proposal or an idea to stop at the Little Falls Library on our village shuttle bus route, and that's been referred to the Ad Hoc Shuttle Bus Committee for evaluation and recommendations. Secondly, regarding the concern raised about our previous signature form for our certificate of deposit broker, I can report that both our village attorney and independent auditor have reviewed the documentation and confirmed it poses no risk to the village. Finally, I'd like to share a valuable resource that we discovered when we went last month to Maryland Municipal League Conference. It's called the Dignity Index. This is a tool to evaluate communication, and there's an 8-point scale, and we put copies of it at the table right when you come in, and it's also on our website. It helps distinguish between language that divides and demeans versus language that shows respect and builds understanding. So as your representatives, we recognize that how we communicate, both with each other and with residents, directly impacts our community's strength and cohesion. So I'm happy to say that every council member has committed to strive for continuing to have respectful dialogue with each other and with residents. And we invite all residents to join in this effort. As I said, the Dignity Index materials are available on the table, and there's on our website posted more information. Now to public comments from interested people who will have 3 minutes. And it looks like we have 8 people. The first of which is Jan Rowland. You do.
Right, hi, I'm Jan Rowland, and I'm part of City Line Studios, which is down
Excuse
north.
me, if you could talk directly into the microphone and not turn your head, it's easier for
All right,
the transcript.
okay, I'll keep
Thank
my
you.
eye on you.
Mhm.
So City Line is a non-profit group. We volunteer in this community, and spreading art and getting involved in the community is very important to me, as it is to some of my friends who are also in the studio, such as Wendy, who's here, and she will also talk to you. But what do we do? I volunteer, first of all. I volunteer every Friday afternoon here for 3 hours with the Open Studio Group. And if you look around you now at all these paintings, and if you came to the reception on Thursday night, which was a really well-attended reception, this is the work of people in your community, and it's here because I'm here. If I hadn't started up this group 3 years ago, you wouldn't have this exhibition now. And the people who are exhibiting here started as beginners, but they're getting better and better. We're a group that's very cohesive, and we really enjoy working together at the centre, and we're really appreciative of the fact that we have the centre. Also with my friend here, Wendy Smith, and also Carol Kleinman, every October we open up City Line Studios so that the neighbourhood can come and see what we do inside that building. In case you don't know, the building that we occupy is a house on North Park Avenue, which is just straight down from the village centre, and we've been there for about 3 years now. And I hope during that time that some of us have been able to make a contribution to this neighbourhood, because we really do believe in community and getting involved. Also, the other thing that we do is that we hold workshops here at the village centre, so that if people want to improve their skills, be it drawing or collage, they can come here and enjoy it. So that's about it that I've got for you. Just to introduce you to us, we're not sitting there behind a closed door and doing nothing. We really are trying to be part of this community and be an asset to the community. Right, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for that lovely reception with the artists that was so well attended. It was lovely for the rest of the community. Wendy Smith.
Well, I'm one of the artists, as Jan mentioned, and I do want to thank you for providing the space for us to make art and collaborate and work together, finishing our art. I think most of us in the studio live either in Friendship Heights or very nearby, so it really means a lot to have something nearby our homes. Yeah, I used to have a studio in DuPont Circle, so this makes a big difference for me. And as Jan mentioned, we opened the studio up for the neighborhood, so I wanted to put down the dates for that open studio this coming fall. October 18th and 19th will be the Chevy Chase Art Walk, where the studio will be open, so we want to invite you all to come. And it is a wonderful thing that you all support us, because you know what they say about you can't get rich on art until you die. So I'm hoping I have to die first. But it's a very expensive proposition to be an artist, and that every show that you're in has an entry fee, and sometimes there's a juried show. That means that they bring an art critic or another artist to come in and pick the pieces that they want, and if you're not picked, you lose the entry fee. So there's that. Every show has that, and You have to frame your work, and you have to buy all your supplies and so on. So it's not exactly a real commercial activity to be an artist. The commissions, the big galleries charge 50% commission. It's really ridiculous. And some of it is a little bit less. But anyway, my point is, we're not getting rich here, so we really appreciate you keeping, coming to an agreement where you can keep down the rent. And we do want you to know that the house, we enjoy the house, we enjoy being part of the community, and I think that you come to an agreement on the renewal of the lease, and we're very happy about that. And I would just say that the house is a little odd. It's got an upstairs kitchen, and it's got, the rooms are a little strange. It's not always the best air conditioning and so on in there, but our manager tries to keep us happy. So I just, again, this is really just by way of thanking you all. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you. We're happy to have you, and please don't die. Carol Kleinman? Okay. Tasmin Ahmed?
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm Tazeen Ahmed, and I am a candidate for the state delegate office for District 16. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself. I've lived in the district for 40 years, not far from here, about 15, 20 minutes or so. But just wanted to, I was actually just planning on coming and listening because I want to get to know you and get to hear about your issues. I didn't realize that sheet was a sign-up sheet to speak. I thought it was a sign-up sheet because I'm here. But I appreciate the opportunity to sort of get to, sort of say hello. I have a website up. It's tazeenformaryland.com, which has a lot of information. I leave some cards over here, so it has my email and my cell phone. I'd love to hear from you on issues that you think is important. I came to the July 4th event, which was spectacular. I think you guys did such an amazing job. And I'm looking forward to getting to know many of you. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for sharing your contact information. Roger Cochetti.
Roger Cochetti. I have 3 recommendations, suggestions for the council. Apologies for the fact that those of you who have been on the council for a while have probably heard these before, but some of you are new and they're important enough to justify repeating. The first is the council has made enormous progress in improving transparency, and the website has made enormous progress in what it offers. There's one thing missing, I think, in where we are today, however, and that is residents are enabled to submit written comments to the council, which would be the equivalent of testimony written, but that's private. It's not posted. Just as the comments I'm making now are visible to everybody in the room and anybody tuning in, written comments to the council should be posted, and then you've closed the circle and made it enabled everybody to participate who can't make it to the meetings or contribute at different times of the day. I want to emphasize that in the enormous redevelopment and redesign of Friendship Heights that the county has embarked upon and the city has embarked upon, I would hope that the council focuses on 3 and almost exclusively 3 things: the safety, the quality of life, and the property values of the people who live here. No one else in the food chain is focused on the people who live here. And I know there are a million other issues in the world we all need to worry about, and there's a million other players out there who will be promoting them, but only you in the food chain of development are enabled to focus on the safety the quality of life, and the property values of the people who live here. Third recommendation is that I believe the council should affirmatively oppose the county planning department's tendency towards increasing population density in Friendship Heights. For those who don't look, the census data, the Census Bureau reports that our population density is 81,000 people per square mile, one of the highest, most densely populated in the country. We already have about 1,800 new units that are being built in the Friendship Heights neighborhood, which will certainly add at least 2,000 or 3,000 more people. What we don't need is increasing the population density. I think the message to the county planning department would be, we are a model of success in population density. Leave us alone. Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Cocchetti. If I could just respond briefly to your first comment. We had put something out that said, hey, if you have comments for the council, please send them in.
Right.
Then the idea was going to be, if that happened, an email would go out. Do you want them publicly shared or not? To my understanding, we haven't gotten anything, so maybe we need to be clearer. So, about that.
Yeah, I'm
So
sorry.
there was an intent to follow up on that.
Okay, and I did mean to say that it should be at the option. If somebody
Right.
wants to submit a comment and keep it private, that's their business. But unless they do that, it should be public. And I saw nothing on the website that shows a place where comments are posted. And even if it's blank, it should be there.
The intent is to follow up on that. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
Madam Chair, since that has been commented on, I think if you're using the analogy of a newspaper that gets letters to the editor, remember, not all those letters are published. I don't personally think the website or our newsletter should simply become like a neighborhood chat box where everybody sends in something there. So if the council decides that some items can be, it would be selective, just like a newspaper. Every comment that's sent in writing should be acknowledged in some way. I agree, but I don't necessarily agree that everyone that sends in something, and it can be voluminous, needs to be somehow transcribed.
Yeah, we see that differently, but I would say filters, obscenity filters and length filters are easy to put on anything like that. So you can limit the amount of text that's posted.
okay. The next one is Bobby Pestrunk.
Some congratulations, one update, one observation, and 3 requests. To the
In
staff.
3 minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
so long as I don't have to
Okay.
respond to you.
You can start him
So
over.
I'll start
okay.
over
He
again
gets
with my
extra
3
time.
minutes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the humor, too. To the staff, thanks to Julian and the village staff for managing last year's budget, which ended the fiscal year with a surplus. That's what they were asked to do by the previous council. It's now 11 of the past 12 years. To Councilmember Mueller for reminding the entire council at June's meeting of its role approving contracts, particularly those over $20,000. This isn't the responsibility left to the mayor or chairman alone. To Chairman Salt for realizing finally that a roll call vote isn't necessary after every vote has been taken and the result called by the chairman. This shortens meetings, a desirable goal. One update. There are no plans to demolish Little Falls Library. I confirmed this with county council office officials, county library officials, and Little Falls Library staff. So at least once a month, midday on non-giant days, the village shuttle could easily stop there. And one observation. I noticed a mayor's corner in the July newsletter. I wondered whether each of the 7 council members will be given a corner to share their thoughts and editorialize. Each council member is a co-equal in village government. Each has an office to fill and perhaps an interest in self-promotion, name recognition, and re-election. And also, will village residents be given a corner? 3 requests. At June's meeting, the mayor proudly referenced his appointment to CCCFH. And I wondered, will he report on his vote as a village representative at the last CCCFH meeting on County Council's proposed zoning text amendment 2502, and on what basis he determined the village's position? Second, please post the purpose for each committee established by the council. Although during his last term, the mayor referred to charters as solutions in search of a problem, this is actually a requirement under the current bylaws. And third, for committees comprised of residents with a council liaison, please post along with the members of the committee the name of the council member liaison to the committee and the role of the liaison. Also, please confirm whether at a recent committee comprised of residents and without a council liaison, a council member improperly made motions for adoption by the committee. Thank you.
Well, I do have to say we're very happy to have you here and welcome. I'm going to let Francine introduce him, if you don't mind, since Francine's spoken more to him than I have. I can't read your first name here, so I do know it's Lieutenant Elkin. Francine, would you like to say a few words?
I'm a little, could you repeat what you asked?
I was just asking if you could introduce Mr. Elkin here and explain his role and how important he is for our community.
I was waiting to do that when I was
Well,
going to speak about
I figured
the
he identified himself,
Yes,
so
but,
let's, yeah.
I'm delighted to see you, Lieutenant Elkin. You and I have spoken a number of times now and exchanged emails about issues regarding public safety in the village. And it's with your help that tonight I'll be able to offer a proposal for consideration by the council that we hire off-duty uniform police officers to work on public safety, traffic enforcement, and supporting traffic safety as well for pedestrians and vehicles. So I really thank you for coming tonight. I know you you were working on this even during your vacation, and it's with your support that we have the proposal that I'll be putting forward in a little while. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and of course, we'll hear more about that. Now, mayor's announcements.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Thank you all for coming out here today. I have one formal announcement to make. On Saturday, July 19th, we will once again host the excuse me, Goodwill Donation Drive. Goodwill will have a truck parked on Friendship Boulevard by the entrance to the Village Center from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. to accept your donations of household electronics, clothing, housewares, and other items. The Goodwill Donation Drive will return to the village on Saturday, August 23rd. Next month, and this is a long-standing practice, there is no village council meeting scheduled for August. The next scheduled council meeting will be Monday, September 8th. Now we have my announcements. Let me just respond very quickly to one of the questions that was asked about votes I take representing the village at, is it CCCFH? Yeah. And I've attended two meetings. The first meeting, we just voted to elect officers. At the second meeting, I did not participate in any votes. And there's a third meeting coming up, I believe, next week. So I want to thank everyone who came out to our 4th of July event, including many of our elected and non-elected community representatives. The staff did a great job, and it was a huge crowd and a lot of fun. Last month, the village sent 6 representatives to the annual Maryland Municipal League Conference. It was extremely worthwhile. There were many seminars that relate directly to issues we deal with in the village. The conference also provided an opportunity to meet with many vendors that sell products and services to municipalities, and we also had opportunities to network with our counterparts. And just to give one example, at one of the receptions I had a long talk with a Pepco representative about street lighting options that are available to the village and how they can assist with that. Earlier today, there was a meeting with me, Councilmember Solt, village managers, and representatives from GEICO. They brought us up to date with their current plans to develop the site. It's still in a preliminary stage, and we will fill in the soon-to-be-formed development committee on what was discussed. And lastly, I want to express some appreciations. First, and Councilmember Solt referred to this, I want to acknowledge all the residents who have joined citizens committees. There are about 40 individuals who have joined 4 separate committees: the Citizens Advisory Committee, the Shuttle Committee, Development, and Climate Change. 3 of those committees have already met, and I attended all of those meetings. It was exciting to see the enthusiasm, the dedication to the community, and willingness to share their insights and abilities in a constructive way. And I look forward to working with those committees and seeing what they recommend. And lastly, I want to express my appreciation to my 6 fellow council members. Over the past 2 months, we have worked together collaboratively and respectfully. When we don't agree, and I've said many times, we don't have to agree, it's never personal, because our only motivation is doing what we believe is best for the village, and to have that is priceless. So, thank you.
Thank you. I believe Councilmember Conlow will be presenting a report on the Finance Committee.
Okay. This is the report as of June 30th, which is the end of our 2025 fiscal year. We finished the year with a 597, almost
John,
600.
could you talk a little closer to the microphone? Thank you.
Practically kissing it here. We finished the year with almost a $600,000 surplus, and that's up almost $100,000 from the prior month alone. So that's pretty darn good. There are several reasons for why we're running a surplus. The main one is that income tax revenues came in close to $400,000 over budget for the year. The police patrol came in almost $100,000 under budget because the contract hadn't been renewed yet. And then other savings included public works, including the bus contract, which was renegotiated, and then Parks and Recreation came in $65,000 under budget. So all in all, last year was a very good year. I think that one issue is on the revenue side, we have to be a little bit careful going into next year because the economy is definitely slowing. Unemployment is ticking up in Montgomery County. It was at 3.2% in May, which is the highest it's been since December 2021. So we're going to want to keep an eye on the economy. It's unlikely that we're going to see the revenue surplus this year that we saw last year. And then on the expenditure side, I just want to note that the police patrol, if it's approved later in the meeting, will increase public safety expenditures compared to last year, but the 2026 approved budget included $180,000 in funding for the police patrol, so it will not have a significant impact on this year's budget if it is approved. On the capital side, we spent approximately $52,000 in 2025 with expenses primarily related to Page Park and more recently replacement of the air conditioning system in the Village Center. Going forward, as I've mentioned before, we still have a lot of work to do to develop a capital plan and budget, and the Finance Committee is working on that. Also, total reserve funds at the end of the year, $4.8 million, including the $1 million payment from Donahoe for the purchase of air rights. These strong reserves will help us develop a more robust capital program preserve and improve the quality of life in the village, and help stabilize our finances. So I think all in all, we're in very good shape. Thank you.
Councilmember Mueller, you have a
Yes,
comment?
I just want to thank the treasurer. This is an extraordinary year that we've had. Just to double down what he said, we had $384,000 more in income, and we had $213,000 less in expenses. So we ended up with the surplus the treasurer reported, $597,000. Hidden amongst all of the line items was one that I think needs to be emphasized. It's the income on line item, excuse me, I'm not going to be able to read too well, as you can see. It's line item 8,800, and it's roughly $36,700 other income. That other income comes from contributions made by residents like you who passed away, and some of them we never really saw on these important committees, but they got something from this community that maybe they wouldn't have if they lived in another community. They got something very important, things like the art exhibits, things like the July 4th testimony. And I think the major part of that $36,000 Vice Chair Klein was from Dr. Anna Giordano, one of our neighbors. So there are a lot of people out there who are not at this meeting or watching who appreciate and contribute by coming to things. So I think the annual report of the budget has these little gems hidden in there. And the treasurer did an excellent job, I think, of showing the big pictures. We have $4.5 million in reserves, and we're going to be able to do anything that you want us to do and the council agrees to do. Not very many other communities can say that. Certainly our national government can't say that. So thank you for the wonderful report, Mr. Treasurer.
Yeah,
Mayor?
if I can just clarify, Julian, I think that other income was mostly a refund from Pepco. Is that correct?
I'd have to verify this.
Yeah, we got like a 30-something thousand rebate for prior overcharges. And I think it's...
We did, and we also got a large donation.
Well, that's in a
so
separate,
the question,
right, but
the
that's
question
not
of
in-
whether that's reflected there, I'd
It's not,
have
yeah.
to verify.
That other income, though, I think is the Pepco refund.
That
Yeah.
could be, yeah.
Councilmember Klein, the Public Safety Committee report.
Hi, everyone. I'm chairman of the Public Safety Committee, and as chairman, I'd like to discuss a proposed safety program that was unanimously approved by the committee. The program would have the village hire off-duty uniformed Montgomery County police officers as part-time employees under employment contracts with the village to enhance traffic safety, enforce traffic laws, and support public safety operations. This program would be operated in accordance with Montgomery County Police Department policies, standard operating procedures, and applicable laws. Now, key components of the program include hiring Lieutenant Ari Elkin of the Montgomery County Police Department, who covers our area in Montgomery County. And Lieutenant Elkin would serve as an off-duty employment coordinator to whom all other officers we hire would report. And there would be a rate of pay for that of $800 per month. Additionally, we would hire a multiple of off-duty uniformed police officers on a part-time basis for coverage of 40 hours per week in total, and on average, as determined by the Village of Friendship Heights in coordination with the off-duty employment coordinator, Lieutenant Elkin. And as we've discussed, deployment will vary depending on seasonal trends, school calendars, construction schedules, and will include use of assigned vehicles. Compensation would be at an hourly rate comparable to the prevailing rates paid to off-duty officers employed by other communities within Montgomery County, and adjusting for different circumstances would currently be started at $80 per hour. So having described the program as such, I move to adopt the program just described, including to hire under employment contracts Lieutenant Elkin as the coordinator for $800 per month, and multiple part-time police officers to accomplish 40 hours per week of coverage on average at a rate of $80 per hour. And that's the motion, and I want to thank Martha Salt, who assisted me with getting that in the correct order. So thank you, Martha.
I second the motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second, and if you're looking at your agenda, I'm going to ask that maybe we reshuffle. This topic is actually the third item under old business, but I suggest we move it up if it's acceptable to the council to process this motion right now. Just shake your head if you have an objection to that. You have an objection, John?
I'd like to make a comment, if I may.
About the order that we're processing this.
I'm sorry, no, about
This
the
is-
proposal itself.
Okay, so we will be processing this grievance now. Grievance. My union thing is getting in my head. Sorry, apologies. We'll process the motion, which was seconded. So we're allowing for discussion now, and I understand you'd like to make a comment, Councilmember Kama.
Thank you. I do have a concern that the scope of work was, the first time that I saw it was its inclusion in the handout we were given on Friday. I don't think we've had enough time to review it. I have some concerns that I think would merit more discussion, and so I do believe that the proposal should not be voted on today, but should be postponed for a subsequent meeting until the council has had more time to review it. Thank you.
May I comment to that? This proposal was distributed and discussed at length at the committee meeting that we had, which you attended, John, and 6 of the 7 council members were together and discussed it. And I gave a description of what would be done. I explained that there would be traffic enforcement. I explained that there would be assigned vehicles. And then we were asked what the cost would be, and these costs fit squarely within the budget that you said we have for the program. So if we do not vote tonight on this, the next time we could vote would be in September. And I think that it's important for us to get this project up and running. We have the money for it. We have a positive vote at the committee, and I see no reason why we shouldn't take a vote now. I would like to know what specific objections, if any, you have to going forward with the program.
I'll allow you to answer that. Mhm.
Thank you. In looking at the scope of work, I think it's too general. I think it focuses too heavily on, it seems to focus too heavily on patrol cars and traffic enforcement. I would prefer that there be more of a focus on traffic or pedestrian safety, including the use of electronics, and better understanding how we can coordinate with the police to evaluate pedestrian safety issues and potentially adopt more electronic enforcement mechanisms. So I think there's issues with the scope in terms of how general it is and non-specific, and I have some issues that I think merit further discussion. Thank you.
Well, I don't mind commenting on that again, but I see other hands up.
Yes, maybe we let other comments first. Councilmember Muller, I see your hand.
I'm not completely certain of what your concerns are, John. I think, in general, the safety of pedestrians, especially relating to legal things that aren't happening, like going through stop signs, can be helped by having a police presence. I don't think it's the only answer, and I know you would like a special study or something to that effect with a consultant, and I support that also. I don't think we've had for 40 or more years problems at our crosswalks that make it unsafe for pedestrians to cross, and we've tried piecemeal. We've tried stop signs, we've tried speed bumps, we've tried flashing lights. So I personally support the idea of trying to get a professional consultant to see if they can pull all that together and come up with something we haven't. But I don't think there's one answer to that, and I think the police can be a major part of that solution. And of course, if we do start this program, there's nothing to say that your idea doesn't, as I said, I support it. I think that goes through at the same time, and we see what's happening, and we fine-tune both of them. Most of the programs we start are not detailed in every single thing, and as the program gets started, the officers themselves, I think, will suggest, as they see things, how they can help. And the report we got of the first year when they were helping us, there were a number of things that they stopped cars from going by school buses, they helped pedestrians and shop owners. So there's lots of things they can do. I'm not sure we need to. So with all due respect, I support your idea, and I hope you can support the one that Vice Chair gave.
Yes, I'd like to say a little more, if I could, about pedestrian safety. I think that pedestrian safety needs to be addressed in multiple ways, as Al just said, as Council Member Muller just said. And with regard to the plans that I know you have, John, you intend to propose a review of an intersection analysis of various intersections within the village. And I fully support that idea. One thing has nothing to do with the other. As we heard from one of our residents earlier today, the safety and quality of life is paramount. And for me, as someone who has devoted my career to public safety, I feel that when you have an opportunity in an urban area that we live in, so close to the Washington, D.C. line, having a program that Montgomery County Police Department offers, a wonderful department that offers us the opportunity to supplement the presence of police officers in our community to ensure that on a daily basis, especially during the work week, that there be additional police officer resources in the village itself is an important way to help further safety, whether it's pedestrian safety, vehicular safety, or other deterrent value from having police in the community. So that would be my response. And I see no reason to delay it. We've discussed it at length, and it seems ready for a vote to me.
Any other questions or comments? Mayor?
Yeah, this is not. We had discussed about the employment agreement, and I didn't hear. Did you? If you said it and I missed it, I'm sorry, but
Yes,
subject to an employment.
there is. Yes, it does say that, Roy, that
didn't hear
it
you
will
read
be employment contracts.
Okay.
And that I know that Julian got advice from Ron Bolt. Late this afternoon, I saw a copy of the initial draft of the employment agreements, and it's just a matter of wordsmithing and getting some input from Lieutenant Elkin if we decide to move forward with the program. I see Julian's hand is up.
Yeah, Lieutenant Elkin would like to speak if he's allowed to.
I would prefer it at the end because I have some questions that I think you are best to answer. So you'll have the last word, I think. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Do you have more?
well,
I have some.
I mean, I take John's point and Councilmember Mola's response. This is a new program. It's very different from what we had during the last council, which several council members had issues with how the program was administered, and I want to recognize Councilmember Klein for addressing a lot of those issues. That said, because this is a new program, there will be a learning curve. We do need to see how it works out, and I suspect that next year when we do our budget, we will consider what we've had learned and discuss possible modifications as we do with for every part of the budget.
Thank you. So I have a few comments. I agree with my colleagues about the serious need to focus on pedestrian safety, and I believe we will do that not instead of this, but in addition to this program. Many of you know I had serious concerns about the prior program, and the structure of this program, thanks to our fellow council member, have addressed the vast majority of my serious concerns. I do have a question that I would feel most comfortable if our lieutenant answered. I think I know the answer, but I would like this officially on the record about, if you don't mind. Yeah, and then he will be available for others. And my question is, while working for the village, will Montgomery County police officers be asking anyone about their immigration status, and will they participate in any way with any ICE activity?
So can you hear me? The simple answer to that question is no, we wouldn't. We don't currently do that in our current capacity. It would violate Montgomery County Police policy. So no, in no way, shape, or form would we be asking for anyone's status or working in conjunction with federal agents if they were in the area executing any kind of operation. So we haven't done that, and we're under policy not to do that.
Thank you. That's all I have. And if others have questions or comments for our lieutenant, or would you like to close it out, Councilmember Klein? That's okay too. Does anyone have specific questions of the lieutenant? No?
I would just
Okay.
add, yeah, sure. So I would just add, I appreciate your comments that, you know, the officers that worked before, you know, had a specific, you know, mission that, you know, for the last time we had off-duty officers here. And this time working with Councilmember Klein, you know, we've retooled that. I will tell you that a significant portion of, you know, we're focusing on pedestrian safety and traffic enforcement is an education piece. So, you know, I don't want anyone to be under the illusion that like officers are going to come in heavy-handed and start citing people left and right. There's a significant education piece that happens, and the officers that we have working here and that would end up working here should this be approved are officers with a lot of experience, have a lot of, you know, good decision-making, the type of people you would want, you know, educating the community, and then conducting enforcement when it's needed. And also, I just want to emphasize the fact that simply because there's a focus on traffic and observing intersections and educating and enforcing, that you don't lose the fact that there is a officer there who can respond to a call for service should a call go out and enforce criminal laws. It's not like the officer's going to be there and say, I'm here to watch an intersection, there's something going on next to me, but that's not part of my scope of work. No, we put on our police officer hat, that is our job. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands it. There is that distinction.
In fact, I think you told me, Lieutenant Elkin, that police officers, while they're in their vehicles and while they're taking care of their responsibilities, that they have to keep the radio on.
Absolutely.
And that it's a requirement under the program that when there is a need for an immediate response, that they, in the area in which they're working, that they respond to it immediately. Yes. And that they move from being our officers to being the primary police officers again.
Yeah, that
And-
potential definitely exists. However, the distinction being that while employed by the Village of Friendship Heights, should an incident occur, there would be an initial response, and then they would turn over the investigation or on-scene activity to an on-duty police officer.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think with regard to the shooting, the unfortunate shooting we had here on South Park in the last year or so, you said that would have been something that, had they been on duty then, that they definitely would have been responding to immediately.
So, yeah, that I think occurred, correct me if I'm wrong, at sometime after 7 o'clock, between 7 and 7:30 in the evening on a Tuesday night. And during our last go-around, on Tuesdays, we had officers scheduled from noon to 8 p.m.
So,
But, well, hopefully, if that were the case, an officer was present, maybe that would never have even occurred. They would have seen a police
well, that would
officer
be
in the
my
area.
hope, too.
Yeah.
Councilmember Mueller?
Just one closing comment, at least for me. We've always, the previous council, this council, have always tried to balance the fact that you can't really measure what was prevented by having police here. With one exception, I want to be certain everyone understands that. There were a number of break-ins and contractual vehicles in front of 4620. And I'm quite sure it was not a coincidence. When we had the police here, that stopped completely. I'm absolutely convinced that a presence, and if the presence is moving around, it can stop what was at that time a serious problem for that one building and for people that might just be walking by when a crime occurred. So it is, as the mayor pointed out, it is something, if we approve this, that can be modified.
Right, and I also want to say for your benefit that, and that, you know, my off-duty hat, you know, my primary job function, you know, trumps my off-duty hat. So, like the pedestrian study, I mean, that's something that I can work with you as the deputy commander of the district, with our traffic division, you know, and hopefully not have to hire independent consultant or whatever. We have people that do that. So those are things that I can work with you on, and if we can't get to sort of what you had envisioned, then maybe you go another route. But so, you know, my first concern is for this community is as your deputy commander of the 2nd District. So that's, and I always avail myself to Julian and the staff here for those things. So sure.
Thank you. Are we ready to call the vote? And I will repeat the motion. It's a move to adopt the program described by our council member, including to hire under employment contracts Lieutenant Elkin as coordinator for $800 per month and multiple part-time police officers to accomplish 40 hours per week of coverage on average at a rate of $80 per hour. So all those in favor say aye and raise your hand and make it easy. All those no, could you make yourself known? Okay. Do you feel you have that down? Mm-hmm. Are any, I didn't see any abstentions, but
I cannot see.
you have it as 5-2, right? Is that correct, Vic? The vote count you have as 5 yeses and 2 nos? So the motion passes. Thank you very much. I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Do you have a Finance Committee report, Council? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm confused. I was looking at one person, and yes, I apologize if you don't mind.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. At our last Finance Committee meeting on June 17th, we approved procedures for implementation of village investment policy, 2 procedures. One is more detailed public information on village investments to be published monthly. The second one is the process for responding to requests for investment documents. And both of those issues, I think, are on the agenda for a vote later in the meeting. We had 2 additional recommendations. However, we put them off until the next meeting that we have in September for the approval process on decisions on when and how to invest our reserve funds, and then the process and procedures for correcting errors in investment documents. So both of those issues are still being looked at, will be on the agenda for September. We've also discussed the need to move money out of the Maryland local government investment pool because it's in excess, I think, of what our village investment policy requires. I think Julian's looking into that. And then we have a discussion. We had a discussion of a proposal to develop a 5-year capital plan and next steps. And so in terms of follow-up, we're looking at issues to streamline the approval process of checks while also making detailed information on expenditures more readily accessible for periodic review. So that's something that we're looking at. Also, as a first step towards development of a capital plan, as I think was mentioned earlier, we've developed in coordination with the Public Safety Committee a draft scope of work for initial recommendations phase on pedestrian safety at village intersections. And that the proposal there is basically to seek recommendations from traffic engineers or working with the police to identify improvements that are needed to make crossing our intersections safer. A lot of people who walk a lot may be familiar with the issue that we have, whereas there's a lot of cars, they're tending to roll through intersections. It's really not safe to cross a lot of our intersections without making eye contact with vehicles. That's really not acceptable. So there's things that we can do to make the visibility of pedestrians much better, and we're looking into that. And then, so that's basically where we're at with the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Councilmember Mueller?
Yeah, a question, something for the future, Mr. Treasurer. I know the $1 million that we received, thanks to former Councilmember Neesey, is received. It's in the bank. But I've never been able to figure out where it goes in the finance report. If somehow, when the audit is done, you could get advice from the auditor on how we can have that a little bit more transparent, because it's just floating around out there, at least to me. I can't find it. So.
Well, Al, that's a really good issue, I think. One of the issues that I think that we need to deal with, I've kind of put it off for now because there's so much on our plate, is how much we're dedicating for reserve funds for our operating budget, how much is dedicated for reserves for our capital budget. The way it is now, it's not really well defined, and it really hasn't been discussed in any detail. And I think it's important to think about that and to make specific recommendations about the amount of reserves we carry for operating purposes and the amount of reserves we carry for capital purposes.
But how exactly do we indicate that we've gotten $1 million? That what you're describing, I agree, we need to have a discussion, but the $1 million that we received, it's not under revenues. I understand that, but it's got to be somewhere.
Well, that's an issue that will be addressed in the accounting, in the monthly accounting statement, where one of the recommendations that we're going to discuss later in this meeting is that all of our investments are listed monthly in our accounting statements. And so it's there, it's transparent, including the detail, what bank it's held in, you know, who the investment advisor is, what's the duration, when does it come due, all those kind of things.
Thank you.
Moving to old business, we have a discussion vote on additional appointments to the Community Advisory Committee.
Okay, thank you. So we have two openings on the CAC. I am nominating the following two individuals to fill those spots, Jacob Lewis and Chantel Ruba Chewesky, and they are both residents of the Willoughby. So do I make a motion?
The mayor moved. It does not need a second, so Councilmember Mueller, did you raise your hand? Oh, we don't need a second on that. That's what, yeah. So I'm calling for the vote on approval to add to the CAC Jacob Lewis and Chantel, however you pronounce her last name. Apologies to her. Everyone in favor say aye and raise your hand. Okay. And do you have that vote? Yes, thank you. That's unanimous.
You doing the shuttle? No.
Discussion vote on nomination of Charles Schwartz as chair of the Ad hoc Shuttle Bus Advisory Committee. And Mayor, do you have something to say?
No, I just, Charles Schwartz is here, and he really has, I believe, taken the lead in the village on bringing issues to the attention of the council, to the managers, sort of holding them accountable for what our contractor, for what they need to be held accountable for, which is maintaining the app when it goes online, notifying buildings and the village when service is out, and working on ways to notify riders when that happens. So I'm happy to nominate him to be the chair of the shuttle committee.
Councilmember Mueller, discussion?
I just want to say that I support Mr. Schwartz. He ran the first meeting, and it went extremely well, and I think something was accomplished. Ideas sometimes reach fruition when a group of people are discussing them, so I'm very pleased. I would make the observation, though, that I believe, and I think this is accurate, that the resident committees, unlike the council committees, are not, the chairman is not selected by the mayor or anyone else. The individual citizen committees, because they're quasi-independent or advisory, but they have in the past selected their own chairman. I think that Charlie Schwartz would have gotten that, and I certainly, again, support him. But I think going forward, it would be helpful. The mayor does appoint the council committees and the council chairs, and as was questioned, the liaisons. But in the past, the mayor or the council have not appointed the chairs of the citizen committees. So I'm just saying that as an observation. Again, with complete support of the chair that is appointed and is doing a great job.
Any other comments or suggestions? I would note that this is a change in practice, and I will...
Chair, it's a change in practice that was not discussed with the council.
I'll call for the vote on Charlie Schwartz as chairman of the Ad hoc Shuttle Committee. All in favor say aye and raise their hand. And you have that vote. Good, thank you. The next item we've already addressed. We went a little bit out of order, and that is the police program that we already voted on. So now we have discussion vote on renewing the lease on 4602 North Park Avenue, sometimes known as the Artist House, right? Mayor?
Yeah, so this proposal was sent last week to all the council members, so they've had a chance to renew it. For those who don't know, we have an Artist House at 4602 well, we call it the Artist House. It's a village-owned building at 4602 North Park. We have a lease that began about 3 years ago in August 2022, and it consists of 10 artists. I think now it might be 8. No, okay, it was originally 10, and they collaboratively rent that space. Each tenant is jointly and severally liable. It's a quirky kind of space. It's not, the village would have issues renting it out because it's not ADA compliant. It is an older building. It's also a very good space for the residents because since they're able to get several artists in, it keeps the rent down for each person. And when we talked about renewing the lease for this year, the concerns for the artists were they wanted more than a one-year lease, which is what we've been doing. They wanted some more certainty to be able to stay longer. The concerns the village had is we've never really discussed what other purposes we may want to use that building for. We may want to leave it as is. We may want to repurpose it. We simply don't know. So we came up with a tentative agreement subject to the council approval that I think represents everyone's interest. And I'll just correct me if I get it wrong. But we will renew the lease. The rent currently is $3,500 a month. We will renew it for 1 year at a rent of $36.25, which is an increase of 3.6%. Following that, the tenants will have 2 one-year options to renew at an increase based on a CPI index to be determined as of a date to be determined probably around 60 days before the lease expires. So that's 3 years. But at any time, beginning 6 months into the first option year, either party can terminate the lease with 90 days notice. So what that does is it guarantees the artist a space for at least 1 year and 9 months, because the earliest the village can move to terminate the lease is 60 days, 90 days after 6 months. So it gives them some certainty. It gives us time to explore other options and see what we may want to use the space for. The other condition is that because we've selected that parking lot as the space for our charging units, the village will have 24-hour access to make those spaces available for residents to charge their cars. So I would move to adopt those terms, subject to a final contract being drawn up, but along those understandings. Discussion.
Do I hear a second on that? Discussion? One second. Councilmember Muller?
First, I don't believe the council has decided that we would have 2 parking spaces there for electric vehicles. I think the council had put that possibility, not designating where, into the budget. But I don't recall, village manager, has that been voted on at some point and discussed by the village council?
Not specific location, the council approved having 2
Yes,
spaces.
but not specific location,
Well,
thank you. Not specific
So
location.
it wouldn't change anything. So if
Not, if I may finish. That comment is the first time I've heard it, so I was not going to comment on that. I do want to comment, though, first of all, showing appreciation. The mayor's done a lot of work on this, and I appreciate that. And he's given us a series of comments on pros and cons and how everyone can find something in there. But I think we need a little historical perspective, which I'd like to provide. We have owned that house for 40 years, January of 1986. I know because I was the chair then and I had to negotiate that. The village spent $445,000 on that. And I think over the time that we've had 3 different tenants, that has been paid back. There was never the thought that this was going to be a profit-making sale. that house was bought for one main reason, and one main reason only. Unlike the red house that we recently bought, it was not historical. 3 sisters lived there for many years. They finally sold the house and moved into the Willoughby. The house was intended to prevent overdevelopment, if Mr. Cacchetti is still here. And it succeeded. It allowed open space to be there and breathing room for an already congested village. The subsequent tenants were first the original owners, which were lawyers, and they paid, because they were lawyers, they paid a higher price for that. Then we had at least 2 other tenants who were there and were nice tenants, but they were businesses, and they were there for many years, and they essentially paid back much of what we had, what it cost the village to buy that. The tenants basically were and remain caretakers. They are there primarily to be sure if there's a leak or a breakage of some electrical thing, they can call it to the village staff's attention and it can be fixed. And the present tenants are extraordinarily different. They're not a business. They have, as you've heard from them tonight, and I'm delighted that they could be here, and I didn't know what you all were going to say, but for many of you that don't know that, they essentially help run and mentor every Friday for 3 hours an open art facility for our residents. Just think how much, I don't know what their going rate would be if they charged as professional artists, but I'm sure it'd be $20, $30, $40 an hour. If you add that up over the period of a month, you've got a couple of $100 or more. And that has to be, I think, taken into consideration. The mayor negotiated, I think, a wonderful agreement if this was another lawyer or another business that was making money. But this is a group of artists that essentially live close by. They've come to things. They've helped with things. They're part of our extended community, just like Somerset House is.
Councilmember, I think we learned a lot about the artists at the beginning. Do you feel comfortable if we proceed and let other people make comments now?
I didn't realize, Madam Chair, that we had a time limit. I apologize if I've used up too much of your time, but I personally think we should continue having the present rental, which a year or so ago was raised 16.5%. I don't think that was mentioned, Madam Chair. So the 2 years together are 20%. And Mr. Mayor, you're a tenant. How would you like to have your rent raised in 2 years 20%? Again, I think this was a wonderful negotiation, but I would leave the rate the way it's been and use the year of the present contract to see if there are any other or better or combination uses for that house. There have been suggestions before. When I came on this council, I personally suggested that that be used as a concierge center. And then when I was negotiating with FHNN, I suggested that FHNN be able to use that. So basically, I've been looking personally for ways that the house could be used without making people pay money for it. And $3,000 is a lot of money. Now there's only 8 of the artists. If we keep raising the rent every year, we're going to have less. So with all due respect, I think this would not be the most appropriate use of the house to raise a good tenant who's helping us every Friday, and they give a 20% commission every time they have a show here to the village. They're supporting us in lots of ways that they don't charge us.
Are there other questions or comments from council members?
So there's some cherry picking in that those comments. There was a larger increase last year, but that followed 2 years of zero increases. If you want to go back to the inception of the lease, it's gone up about 20% over 4 years. And as you mentioned, the prior rents to the attorneys were much higher. So I think there is a recognition that there is a service, and we're not looking to get the maximum rent if we're getting less than we're getting several years ago. I think it's a fair, and there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of negotiation. I think it's a fair rent. As I said, I think it represents the interest of both parties. And there are 8 artists now. I've been told they could increase it if they wanted to. There are artists waiting. And that's their choice. But, you know, I think, and I think this really balances the interests of the village and the artists.
Are we prepared to call a vote? I think so. So I'm going to read the motion again, which is to approve the lease for 4602 North Park with the following terms. Rent for the first year of $3,625 per month. 2 one-year options to renew at an increase based on a CPI index to be determined as of a date to be determined. Beginning 6 months into the first option year, either party may terminate the lease with 60 days notice. The village, I'm sorry, 90 days, I read the wrong word. The village will be allowed to construct and have 24 access to EV charging stations in the parking lot. All tenants will continue to be jointly and severally liable for the entire rent due, and this is subject to preparation of a final lease. So all in favor, say aye and raise their hands. Okay. Do you have that? All not in favor? I see one. You're both not in favor? Okay, so.
And if I could just make one point, this does not obligate the village to put a charging station in the parking lot. It just means if we do, we will have access.
The next item is discussion vote on change order for the wheelchair lift at the Red House. And I believe the village manager, this is your bailiwick, so to speak. Is that correct?
Sure. We have a proposal from the contractor Managed Homes doing the work of the ADA renovation work on the Red House. And just to back up, we're still in the design phase. So the contractor's been working with their architect on the design of the ADA compliance items, one of which is to get a accessible entrance to the building, to the new what will be the deli market when the tenant is in there. And they were originally looking at building a traditional ADA ramp, but they determined that with a lot of discussion back and forth with us that the ramp would be of such a size that it would take up a significant amount of space, including some of the outdoor seating space that the tenant is depending on to make their business profitable and to be successful there. So they started talking about an alternative option, which would be a wheelchair lift, would take up a lot less room. It would essentially be a lift right at the side door with a very small ramp leading up to it. And would be much more amenable in terms of the space. So that's the proposal that they've submitted, which is an additional $15,293 above the budgeted cost for the ramp, which was $35,000. So that's the change order request is for the ramp for $15,293, and we included some information about the ramp, the wheelchair lift itself, which was recommended by the architect, and the proposal that the contractor received is from the installer who would install the wheelchair lift, and they are the only installer that can install this particular wheelchair lift that was recommended by the architect.
Does someone want to make that motion?
I will so move.
I'm sorry? Is there a second for the motion? Discussion? I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
A question to Julian. The picture that you provided us of the little elevator, is this similar to the one in the Chevy Chase Clyde's restaurant?
It's
mean, somewhat.
it's that similar concept. I don't know that it's
Sort of a
exactly
s-
the same, but it's yes, it's
For the
basically
audience
that
here, it's
concept.
sort of a
Yes.
sleek box. If someone in the audience wants to pass this around, you can actually see what it's like.
Other questions or comments? Mayor?
So we are going to, I believe, be adding an item later under new business to possibly hire a project manager for this house. So I would like to, I guess it's amend the motion to say, subject to approval by the project manager if we have one, if one is approved. Because we're not in a position to judge this. I don't know if this is the best lift for the situation. I don't know if it's a good cost. It's not $15,000. It's $15,000 to the contractor plus an additional $19,000 for the cost of the lift. There's additional work in here which I'm not sure is covered under the contractor proposal, so there could be even a greater cost. So we just don't know. So I'd like to have a project manager opine on this.
Yeah, I agree with the mayor that we should get a project manager for this, and that the project manager should look at the expense for the lift. It seems to me that we've learned from our experience with Page Park that things are sometimes more complicated than we think, and that it really helps us to have someone who's in a position to give us advice on these matters. So that would be my support as well.
Is the maker of the motion willing to have the motion amended? If Mr. Councilmember Mueller?
I guess my question to the amender is if there's any idea of how long getting a project manager would delay the project. If that doesn't seem...
We're still in the design phase, right? So we're
could the manager please remind us, or at least remind me, where we've progressed with the ordering of things to happen in the Red House so that the tenant can begin his renovation so they can open it?
Yeah, we are in the design phase, so the only work that's happened is the electrical work, which is a separate track with PEPCO, requiring PEPCO approval, and that can take a long time. So the contractor wanted to start with that. It does not affect the tenant space specifically because it's in the back of where the kitchen area is. So that work has been completed, and the permit has been submitted for PEPCO approval. But all the rest of the work is the ADA renovations that the village has to do, which the tenant is essentially waiting for because some of it will overlap with work that they have to do in the basement where the kitchen is. So we are in the project stage.
The project manager that we have for
Design
Page
phase.
Park obviously is very conversant with ADA. Is it a possibility that the same person could be a project manager?
It's-
I believe it's...
It's actually
I'm
actually
basically
more than a
concerned
hope.
with how long is it going to take to get another project manager?
It's a
village
little
manager?
more than a hope because I just spoke to him before this meeting and just alerted him that this may be coming up. So he's amenable to doing this.
So you're willing to amend the motion? And then, Councilmember Conlow, are you willing to accept the amendment to the motion? Thank you. Okay, I think, I'd just like to throw out a comment of my own before the vote. I totally support this amendment, and without it, I would have voted no. I don't think we have information to make a judgment. I don't, and many of the costs weren't included here, including the electrical, the permitting costs, et cetera. There's just so much unknown, but I have a lot more comfort knowing that someone who does know what they're doing can help make decisions. So I am ready to call for the vote. Yes, it's nice to be in agreement. And it's so, yes. All in favor say aye and raise your hand. Aye. I see that as unanimous. Do you? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. We move to the next topic. I'm sorry, that's new business. Discussion vote on appointing members to the advisory committee on development.
Okay.
Sorry if I'm talking slow. I'm just trying to keep track here.
Okay, so we are at an important crossroads right now with two big projects coming up that are going to shape our community in a major way. The Planning Board is starting a full update of the sector plan, and with Geico moving, we have an opportunity to influence future development on that site. There is a lot of work ahead, and we have put a lot of thought into how to proceed. As your elected representatives, we don't want to just hear your opinions. We want your opinions to be part of the decisions that will guide our neighborhood's future. Last council term, we had an ad hoc development committee that consisted entirely of council members. We're going to change that. I'm appointing a development committee consisting of council members and volunteer residents who have expressed a commitment to participate in this process. So I'm nominating two council members to serve on this committee, Al Muller and John Conlow. For resident nominations,
Do you think we should vote on them separately? What's the desire of the council? One vote for everybody or separately? One vote, okay. Thank you.
Okay. So my resident nominations, for chairman, I am nominating Robert Seisenwein, a resident of 4620, and we're fortunate to have him offer to lead this process. The other resident nominees are Lenny Berliner of Willard Towers, Gwendolyn Bowl of the Carlton, Roger Cacchetti from the Willoughby, Wendy Fox from the Carlton, Cameron Moody, the Elizabeth, Ken Niles from the Willoughby, Charlie Schwartz from 4620 North Park, and Evan Smith from Willard Towers.
Thank you. I'll call for the vote and allow me to read it again. Oh, of course. Thank you. I apologize. Discussion, comments? No.
One thing that I learned recently was that, although I've always thought about Geico being the space across Willard, under the proposed plan, there would be a continuation of both Schumacher Lane and North Park into the new development. And that, of course, has direct ramifications on traffic flow in our own community. So it is really ideal that we're moving forward this way, and thank you, Councilman Schaefer.
And that's one of the things we discussed at our meeting with Geico today, and so the committee really has to hit the ground running, and it's a big lift for them, so I appreciate that.
Councilmember Muller?
Yeah, I just want to be clear to everyone that my own preference is that the citizen advisory groups elect their own chair, but I fully support Mr. Seisenwein. He will make a terrific chair, and if I were a member of the voting part of that, as a council member, I typically would not vote on an advisory group to the council. But I certainly would favor his doing it. He has vast experience, and I'm sure he will run an excellent committee.
Other comments or questions? I'll read the motion again, and if you allow me, Mayor, I'm going to exclude what building they live in the motion, okay? To appoint to the advisory, is it an ad hoc advisory committee? To appoint to the Ad Hoc Advisory Committee on Development Council members Alfred Muller and John Conlow. Residents Lenny Berliner, Gwendolyn Bowl, Roger Cochetti, Wendy Fox, Cameron Moody, Ken Niles, Charles Schwartz, and Evan Smith, with Robert Seasonwine as chair. All those in favor say aye and raise their hands. Aye. I see unanimous. Do you, Vic? Okay, thank you. Now we're moving to the discussion vote on investment procedures 1 and 2 recommended by the Finance Committee for approval. If I could allow you to share what you have to say.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, 2 proposals were reviewed and approved by the Finance Committee. These proposals are basically being taken up under village investment policy that was passed in April of 2025, which requires the Finance Committee to review and recommend procedures on village investment policy to the full council. So the first investment procedure that is recommended is public information on village investments. And it's basically recommended that in the interest of full transparency and in keeping with Section 8 of the Village Investment Policy, which states an inventory of the village investments shall be posted monthly in summary form. The inventory is to be included in the village's monthly accounting report and includes the following information: the activation date of the investment, the maturity date, the duration, the investment type, such as if it's a U.S. government CD, the interest rate or interest rates if it's variable, the name of the investment broker or advisor, the bank or other entity holding the investment, and the dollar amount of the investment. And so I move that the proposal be accepted.
And we're voting on them one at a time, is that right? Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, okay. Is there a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Comments, questions? Just the first one. So I will call the vote, which is to approve investment procedure 1 as outlined, laid out in our notebook and recommended by the Finance Committee. So all in favor, aye, and raise their hand. It looks unanimous to me. Would you like to proceed with the next?
The next one is responding to requests for investment documents. And it's basically saying that village investment documents are generally considered public documents and consistent with the Maryland Public Information Act, village regulations, and village investment policy. Requests for investment documents shall be made in writing to the village manager, who is designated as the custodian of public records under state law. The village manager is required to redact non-public personal identifying information. And for additional information on regulations and procedures for accessing public documents, your reference to see Chapter 1, Section .09 of Village Regulations.
And that's your motion?
That's the motion.
A second from Councilmember Muller. Any discussion or comment? I have just a comment, and I've shared this with you before. I believe this section isn't necessary. I think it's basically completely covered by our other policies and state law. And so, and I understand you're not trying to add to that, you're just reinforcing that. And so that's fine. You know, we can't define a document here, in essence. But I understand that you're just trying to elaborate what current policy is, and if that's the case, I will support it. So,
Thank you.
Any other comment or question? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye and raise their hand. Aye. I'm sorry. Is it I didn't see Francine. Francine, did you? Okay, thank you. Sometimes it's hard to see in here, so. Yeah. This is our last item. I'm sorry. I thought it was part of the other motion. Okay. The mayor's. One second. Did you understand that the prior vote to include approval for hiring a project manager for the Red House? Or do you think we need to do a separate, or we don't need it at all?
No, I didn't understand that. I
So you
thought
think
that
we
would be
need a separate vote?
Vote.
Okay.
It wasn't in the motion that was approved.
But I thought the amendment was supposed to be
Subject to agreement by a project manager to be hired is the words I have. So what does your nod mean? I think
The nod means you haven't hired him yet. To be hired.
Does the motion sort of also authorize hiring that project manager? Or do we need a separate motion to hire?
Well, let's just be clear.
That depends.
Okay.
Depends on the council's intent with that motion.
Never hurts to be extra clear, right?
Madam Chair, if we need to make it official, it sounded to me like when we discussed before, could we have some sort of wording that we can do this and not wait until September? Because especially if we're going to try to get the present project manager to do it.
Okay, could you make a motion, Mayor, for this?
So I make a motion to hire a project manager to assist with the construction and permit and development issues related to the Red House renovation.
Thank you. Discussion or comment? I think we already kind of talked about it, but Village Manager?
Just to reiterate my previous comment that Jim Wilson is available to take this on.
And could you contact him tomorrow?
Yes.
On this? Any more comments, questions? I'm sorry?
If Jim Wilson is willing to do it, how is that expedited by this group? Because the motion didn't approve a specific person.
But neither has it in the past either. I think the village manager has authority to proceed with this, right?
The vote is to authorize hiring a project manager, and then I can work it out with Jim Wilson. Because it could either be an amendment to his existing contract or a separate deal.
No, it would need to be a separate contract. It's a separate project, yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Because we may go up to the limit on the, yeah. Do you have a comment?
Just as long, Madam Chair.
I'm thinking tomorrow. What do you think? It's too slow. So the motion is to hire a project manager to assist with the construction. I missed the second word, something, and development issues related to the Red House renovation. Help me out here, please.
Permitting.
Oh, permitting, yes, that's what that word looks like. Okay, allow me to repeat it. To hire a project manager to assist with construction, permitting, and development issues related to the Red House renovation. All those in favor, aye, or raise your hand. Okay, I see it as unanimous. Do you, Vic? Okay, thank you. Now we're on our last item, right? Okay, so this is a request that has come from our Citizens Advisory Committee on Climate Change and the Environment to send a letter to the Montgomery County Council opposing spraying in Willard Avenue Park with the chemical commonly known as Roundup. We do have members of the committee here. If you would like to go to the microphone and explain just briefly. We do all have the letters in our packet, but you could probably do a better job than me. Mhm.
Hello, Christine Nauer, Willard Towers. I'm a member of this ad hoc climate committee.
Could you explain the letter briefly
sure.
and why
Yeah.
why you have the concerns you do?
You have a copy of the letter,
Yeah, it's in our
correct?
packet, and
Okay.
it's at the table.
Yeah.
As you came in.
Basically, for as long as I've lived in the village, the Montgomery County Parks Department has periodically sprayed Roundup or related herbicides in Willard Avenue Park to control invasive weeds. And our committee recently met, actually on July 1st, and we oppose this indiscriminate spraying of this pesticide, this herbicide, in a park that's just adjacent to the building I live in, and that is used a great deal by many, many residents of this village and other people who come from elsewhere to go through the park. So we know invasive weeds are a problem in this park, and I know myself and Bobby Pestronk are among the Little Falls Watershed Alliance volunteers who have pulled out some of these weeds and cut down the honeysuckle, etc. However, I think that using an herbicide with questionable side effects is the right way to address this problem. I did go on the Montgomery County Parks website and saw that they spray this in a lot of other parks. So it's a standard procedure. It's not something for just extreme circumstances, as I was told when I called the Parks Director's office. So they're doing it a lot. It could be Roundup. It could be called Aquamaster. There's another one coming out called Dequat. The problem isn't only the primary ingredient called glyphosate, which is the ingredient that's listed on these herbicides, but it's the alleged inert substances that are added to this glyphosate that can cause serious problems with bumblebees, for instance, the bee population in the park, potential problems with birds, with wildlife, certainly with people, because they give you a 48-hour warning. Don't go in there where we sprayed, dangerous, etc. And I think I sent you a picture of this latest little flag they put up. Do not enter this area for 48 hours. So that tells me that there's something potentially harmful for pets and for people if we can't even go into the thing. So I know that there are still invasive weeds there, and there are potentially other ways of handling the weeds. I don't think we have to. I think we, as a village, can say, even though it's not within our jurisdiction, we don't, Willard Park is not part of us, it's adjacent to us. And this whole Little Falls watershed comes behind all the buildings. So what goes on in this watershed affects us as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I'll second.
I'm sorry. Discussion or vote? I'm sorry. It's a late night already.
Oh,
Discussion.
I was just informed by Bobby Pestronk that the use of Roundup is specifically for controlling bamboo in the park. But I walk in that park all the time. As you may know, I'm a birder. I'm constantly in that park walking along the creek. There are not very many bamboo shoots coming up. They cut down the bamboo, they sprayed it one time, and there may be a few around that high, but there's no big growth of bamboo in this park. So I don't know what else they're planning to use it for, but Certainly, it's not very effective against ivy because ivy has a coating on it, and it would need several applications. So what our committee is concerned about is that this is kind of taking a hammer to a problem that that might require a little screwdriver.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Before we vote on this, I am disclosing I'm a named plaintiff in a lawsuit against Monsanto for the use of glyphosate, and other plaintiffs who have had a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I've also been told that it's not believed to be a conflict if I vote on this particular letter, because nothing in this letter will actually influence that lawsuit at all. So I'm disclosing that so everyone knows.
Or, Madam Chair, you could simply abstain and the motion will go through. Either way.
I know that. I want to vote on this, okay? And I'm calling allow me to read it again, to approve the proposed letter from the Citizens Advisory Committee on Climate Change and the Environment to the Montgomery County Council objecting to the use of glyphosate in Willard Avenue Park, to be signed by the mayor. All those in favor say aye or raise their hand. And that looks to be unanimous to me. Thank you. I believe at this point, I'm sorry, we close and then go to,
Right.
you know what I'm saying. He's giving me the words to read. Mm-hmm. So I make a motion that this meeting be closed under general provisions, Article Section 3-305B, only to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of an appointee, employee, or official over whom it has jurisdiction. So I need a second on that, don't I? And yes, I'm moving, and Councilmember Mueller is the second. And calling for the vote, all those in favor, aye, or raise their hand. And I assume you are Vic too. So, okay, thank you. That motion passes, and this essentially adjourns the open meeting. Thank you, everyone, for braving the horrible weather and being patient. Thank you.